Pleasant good day to each and every one of you in Guyana. I know today that many politicians are having meeting and deciding their next move and strategy. Who they might want to kill, who they might want to disappear, what kind of thing can they do to hurt their opponent. And we understand that we are not living in a democratic society in Guyana. We are living in what I call a semi-dictator. Started out from Burnham all the way down. Unfortunately, the people who are thinking this way were children, great-grandchildren of slaves and cheap labor who condemned the European leadership, who was once the colonial master. But today we live to see that they are worse than the people they condemn. And therefore, I am calling on all Guyanese to stand up for what is right. In this political world or in a democratic society, every man have a right to his own verdict. Every man have a right to say how he feels and what he don't feel. If it offends someone, take it to court, if he lie or anything else. But politicians should be accustomed to criticism, especially when they are doing the job belonging to the public. Unfortunately, Guyana, between the two races, you cannot say nothing to the politician them, and they feel offended. They use the law against you. They will use bank, because a lot of them, I was made to understand, got share in the bank's facilities in Georgetown, Guyana. Now I ask, is it really that Guyana ever had a government for the people, by the people? Or we had dictators and pirates that run the land, that control everything? Are we living in a democratic society or a dictator society? We trust these men and women in the position of office to do what is right for humanity. But instead of they do that, they do things what is right for themselves, friends, and family. I am calling on the two major races in Guyana, the East Indian descendant and the African descendants. Stop thinking negative about color of skin and nationality from where our ancestors came from. Think of the future of your family and what you want for them. Guyana do not belong to the Indian, the black, the Portuguese, nor Chinese, but belong to the native Indian called indigenous people, as we say in Creole, Buck, which is totally a called name, but not a thing, but it can be very derogative. But nevertheless, is the indigenous people. We have leaders in our country who support Africa for liberation because of the complexion of their skin and the tints of their hair. We also have leaders in the country and others who support India for the liberation, but seem not to understand that the Amerindians themselves need freedom. These hypocrites go to their church, their temple, the church that they pray and call on Jesus, and also the Muslim mosque, and the mandir. But I want to know if they forget the passage in the good teaching, thou shalt not covet thy brother's property. And the other one, do unto others as you like them do unto you. And what goes around comes around, ladies and gentlemen. When Jesus used the word, what does it profit a man to gain the world but lose his soul? He was talking about the wealth. You get everything, but you're dead and gone, and you leave it behind. Your hands are full of blood, and your heart or your mind is full of covetousness, devious individual. Is that the way you face your maker? Well, I tell you what. When people get mad and say things against the opposition or the government, everybody who support them get upset. But try to understand who hurt those people. Try to understand why they speak like that. Will you sit down and allow somebody to hit you, rob you, rape your family? Or a government minister and corrupt judges and businessmen lock your family up? There's only one way, by the barrel of the gun. Will you allow that your relative go out and never show up, and you have to look for them, and the government is aware of it, or the opposition, or some corrupt criminal, or businessman? Ladies and gentlemen, many great leaders have lost because of people like that. Many great nations become poor because of leaders like that. And many nations changes other nations because of fed upness of their people. I call upon you, the patriotic Guyanese, Indian and black, to be united. I call upon the Portuguese, the Chinese, and the mixed race not to take side in this election. I call upon the Amerindian people, stop and think. Guyana belongs to you. It don't belong to Indian and blacks. It don't belong to Portuguese and Chinese, for they are the descendant of other nations. And yes, they'd fight for the liberation in Africa and India another way. This is your turn now. I call upon all to join hands with the Amerindian to liberate the country, because what is happening is totally unfair to the men and women in the indigenous tribe. I call upon God Almighty to do His work, and all the wicked, their children and grandchildren, must suffer the consequence of the sins that was committed by their parents against innocent people. I called upon the international community to look into the facilities of the banking situation of Guyana, since money laundering is against the law, and we should have open trade and open banking. Why some banks are denying other people business because you speak out against a leader or a minister, or you speak out against a religion and they are a part of it? This is not a banking system should be allowed to exist in no democratic society. Because if you're a Hindu, you cannot bank in a Muslim bank. If you're a Muslim, you cannot bank in a Christian bank. What is there to hide? And where is democracy? And therefore, if so be the case, I call upon the international community to investigate the matter between the Guyana banking facilities and situation. And if they refuse, then only one thing you can do, refuse to do business with them also. As Trump called for sanction against some country, I do hope that Guyana do not want to be sanctioned. Now, APNU may have a few good men, as much as the PPP, but the majorities are devious, wicked, and treacherous. I call upon APNU, in order for you to secure the rights of Guyana, you need younger people with vision and intelligence. You need people who think of the nation and not their pocket. You need people who think of justice, not segregation, and give segregated justice. Because you're a black man, you set a black man free when he wronged to an Indian. Or you're an Indian, you set an Indian free when he wronged to the black man. That is not democracy, and that is not justice and equality. We are looking for such a leadership in the world. But what else left there to say or to do? Now, when a man says he will join the neighboring country, you say treason. What is treason? When Burnham have sent soldiers into Africa to fight for his black brothers against white. What is treason? When Idi Amin drove the Indian out, and Burma are driving out the Indian right now. And not forgetting Mr. Mugabe, who drove the white man out also from his country. Is that treason? It's all about a reason. So I call upon the leaders of APNU. We can work together for a better Guyana, but land must be distributed to every citizen, and money to build house. The civil servants, starting from the military, the police, the teachers, the judges, and all civil servants must be given a fair shake and profit sharing, as every family get the wealth of the oil. And the Amerindian community, who's the indigenous people, must share 50% of the worth of the natural resources, because it is his country. And he should be in the UN to represent Guyana against a territorial problem. So no country can invade us, because we are great-grandchildren of slavery and cheap labor. We must not be counted as great-grandchildren of covetous people, devious individuals, wicked, treacherous bastards, and thieves. Let us not go to the grave with that curse. So I call upon APNU leaders to come together for a better Guyana, and let's work together. Put all differences aside and ensure that every man, woman, and child must be given an equal opportunity. Thank you. That's the Guyana I'm looking for. Have a good night.